If it feels comfortable for you, maybe allowing the eyes to just rest, maybe by closing or by looking down, or just allowing the eyelids to just relax away. And then if you like to take just a deeper than normal breath with me, then you can do that. I often like to start by taking a deep inhale and a long exhale. Perhaps on the exhale, you might notice that the body feels invited to soften, even relax a little bit, maybe. So maybe we can do that again. Deep inhale, and on a long exhale, just allowing the shoulders to drop if that's welcoming in this moment. And just noticing the muscles around the face, the facial expression right now. You might notice the jaw and the teeth here. And just seeing if you can relax or soften the muscles around the face. There's nothing to express in this moment. We're just taking a moment with this part of the body that is a constant, making effort. In constant need to express, to say something. Perhaps just letting it know that right now it doesn't need to say anything, that it can soften. As the face settles here, just becoming aware of the rest of the body. Perhaps just bringing your attention as if it was a beam of light just traveling around the body, and just noticing the rest of the body, noticing the neck and the throat, seeing if there's any tightness here. Any tension around the neck. Now allowing the shoulders to drop. And you might notice some tightness or tension in the areas where the surface is holding you. Seeing if it feels right for you to just give in to the surface. Noticing those areas, those points of contact. And just allowing the body to settle here for one moment. Really safely sinking into the surface holding you. Giving in. It's okay to rest right now. Taking on a restful stand in this moment. Your attention is alert. The body is restful. And if this feels like a struggle, then just noticing that need for tightness or for tension, giving it attention. And I just noticing the arms and how they're positioned in relation to the body. Maybe you can just allow your attention to navigate its way to the front of the body, experiencing the breath here, noticing what it's like for this body to breathe, noticing the in-breath, noticing the out-breath. And just becoming aware of this rib cage that expands on the in-breath and contracts. This incredible structure in the body, protecting the lungs, the heart. If you're noticing sleepiness during this time, then perhaps just opening the eyes or shifting your pose, sitting up, So the idea is for the body to be at ease, but for the attention to be fully alert, guarding, noticing. And then there's also a sense of softening. So just noticing the lungs here. Noticing the rib cage. The heart. And there's no need to strive for anything. There's no need to go out of your way to feel something that you're not feeling right now, to sense something that is not here right now. Whatever is your experience is welcome and is perfect. And as the breath moves through the body, seeing if we can follow it with your attention and just noticing any sensation of your breathing in the back of the body. Then coming down the body, the back of the body to the lower back. Dancing through this part. And what is it like for this part to be here? Maybe to be in contact with the surface holding you. Now coming around to the belly area, the abdomen. Sensing the expansion on the in-breath, the contraction on the out-breath. Maybe taking a deeper than normal breath. Just sensing the breath settle in the area in between the right hip and the left hip, pelvis. And now coming around the back of the body again to the glutes and the tailbone. If you're sitting, you might notice how this area is kind of holding the bone structure of the hips. Holding the organs. There might be a softening sensation here. And if your mind has taken you in a story, if you've been absent-minded for the entire time of this practice, that's okay too. Just making sure that there's a sense of coming back. And so just coming back to whatever we are, meeting us back here again in this area of the body, as you notice your own and what your experience is, without judgment, with a tender, kind voice coming in. Now we're going to continue on with the upper part of the legs, just coming down to the thighs and the inner thigh. You don't need to shift or move them in any way, just noticing that they are here. Maybe a sense of heaviness or lightness. Contact with the surface holding you. Just noticing how the breath moves through these areas, sensing the breath. And now moving down to the knees and the rest of the legs, the bottom of the legs. And we're just giving the body the message that it can be at ease right now. We got this. We're just checking in. If you notice your body feeling guarded, tense, just acknowledging that and meeting it where it is. And inviting it to soften. And just noticing the ankles and the feet. The heel of the feet and the toes. And then again, I invite you to soften even a little more. Maybe taking a deeper than normal breath. Just breathing through this area, breathing through the feet. Oxygenating this area of the body. With an effortless sense of being. And maybe just for a moment, I'll invite you to consider this body as a external part of you, as a different being separate from you, with pains and aches and needs. I'm noticing how you relate to it in this way. What if you could get away from the idea that this is your body and instead seeing it as a being, a small child perhaps, And then just notice what happens when you shift from thinking that it's yours into acknowledging that it doesn't belong to you. Perhaps you could see it as a home, as a child, as a being that needs your care and attention, just like anything else. Something that belongs to nature that you're here to take care of. And in a moment, I'm going to invite you to take a deeper than normal breath. And so, taking a deeper than normal breath with me, just noticing how the body just breathes for you. And as you tune into the part of the body that holds the sense of gratitude, that's your connection. Just sensing if there's any gratitude for this body present at this moment. Anything you would like to say to this body that works so hard to keep you alive. And perhaps acknowledging its generosity towards you. And noticing its kindness, regardless of how you might treat it, regardless of your expectations towards it. It keeps giving. And perhaps for a moment, I can just invite you to embrace everything about this body. Maybe it doesn't walk as fast as once did. Maybe it hurts more than it did before. Maybe it looks different now when you look in the mirror. But it's still here with you, allowing you to experience this world, allowing you to be here on earth. And if your feet or any part of your body are in contact with the surface holding you, as I suppose if you're sitting or lying, seeing if you can just go beyond the surface holding you, as if there was roots in the body connecting you to the earth beneath. Perhaps I invite you to notice how generous Earth is as well, keeping this body alive and going, providing the right conditions. As you notice this, maybe just allowing for a gentle and spontaneous sense of maybe gratitude if it's here towards everything Earth provides for you, so that this body can continue going on. And yeah, it will run its course. But it's still here, despite everything. And so just for a moment, I'll invite you to take another deeper than normal breath, tuning into this body, this earth, to a sense of acknowledging how generous all this is towards you. Mother Nature, body connection to the earth. And seeing if you can just be with how things are right now. Acknowledging a sense of change, perhaps. Celebrating what's here. Without trying to be anything other than what you are in this moment. So there is a poem by John Welwood called Forget About Enlightenment. And he says, forget about enlightenment. Sit down wherever you are and listen to the wind singing in your veins. Feel the love, the longing, the fear in your bones. Open your heart to who you are right now and not who you would like to be. Not the saint you're striving to become, but the being right here before you, inside you, around you. All of you is holy. You're already more and less than whatever you can know. Breathe out, touch in, and let go. So maybe just noticing again how those words land for you, where in your body you feel the message. And every time you turn towards the body, there's that connection again to the body who's connected to the earth and the earth. And so whenever you're ready, at your own pace, I'll invite you to really gently, perhaps just shift your pose, start wiggling the toes, whatever the body needs right now as you come back into the room. Or maybe a little stretch here and there. Allowing the shoulders to just move a little bit. So today we're going to talk a little bit about generosity and what that means in our practice. And as I was kind of thinking about this entire kind of little class came from an inspiration of a conversation I had with someone this week about the environment and Earth and what has happened to our environment. And this person had just come from traveling to Antarctica and was sharing the experience of seeing how the ice is melting and how the planet is changing and shifting in some ways. And I'm sure this is all you already know, but I think what stood out for me the most out of this talk was really a sense of how disconnected we've become. Disconnected from Mother Earth that still provides for us so much, and that we wouldn't be able to sustain these bodies without it. And I think what really came down to in this conversation was a disconnection that we might have from our own bodies, which are connected to Earth, which are part of Earth and the universe. And so that disconnection that really pulls us away from knowing how much we need Earth, how much we need to take care of nature. And how sometimes we can, and I'm in with this as well. So, if you're feeling like you're not doing enough or whatever it is, I've just got to tell you that that's constant work as well for me, in consumption, in the things and how I decide to live my life. And in Buddhism literature, there is a path called the Noble Eightfold Path. And in this Noble Eightfold Path, we talk about right livelihood, the choices that we make, and the harm that our choices might be causing or can cause, right? And sometimes we might just understand this as I'm not hurting anyone. And so the invitation with this is to really notice how we're living our lives, and our practice of mindfulness is at the core of everything. Because if we're not present, or, I notice that when mindfulness is not present in the moment that is not present for me, I might make choices that are not really in tune with what I value in life, right? And so bottom line is to know really what connects you to life. What are some values that you actually consider being part of your core, right? And when we talk about sustainability, perhaps that's something that we, at least I think in my opinion, is not regarded as much. How much do we take from the earth and how much harm do we cause with just simple actions, right? The shopping we do, our food choices, our clothing, how much we spend, how much of the resources we're using. Yeah, so all of this was really eye-opening for this person as they traveled to the end of the world, what somebody call it at the end, the very bottom of the world, somebody say, and to find really a small little town in this area. I can't remember the name, but there's a small little town in there that's just so natural and so in tune with nature. And to be able to spend a couple of nights there for this person was incredible. And to see the difference even coming up, to South America, and to see how things started shifting. And so there is things that sometimes we're not in tune with, we don't live close to these areas. We're not seeing what's happening in the world a lot of the times. But perhaps with our practice, we can be more in tune into the choices we make. And that's the invitation, really. And I think it comes from a sense of understanding how generous Mother Nature is with us. There's an incredible sense of generosity, right? It's always providing, it's always giving. And it's so powerful, as we can see, in times in which climate starts changing. It's so powerful, and yet it's so gentle with us. So the idea to just question, maybe, how do you live your life? How's your work? Is there in tune with what you believe? And I understand if there's sometimes we don't have a choice. The world sometimes it's evolved in a way that we have very little choice in how we live our lives now. It's almost like I even see it with the iPhone. It's just like after a while, if you own an iPhone, it won't work anymore. And then society's moved in a way that we need to be in touch in some way. We need to own a phone to be, to be able to support our work, right? To be able to support our connectivity with others and relationships. And again, we have to go and get a new one every once in a while. And this is the idea, right, of how many resources we're wasting. And there's things in which we have to compromise. And so the invitation is more about noticing, where is it that I have to compromise, and where is it that I can actually make choices that are more in tune with this body being in connection with Earth and with everything that Earth provides. Right. So this sense of causing no harm goes a lot farther than sometimes our speech or the way we communicate with one another, but also the way we live our life, the choices we make. And so just a little invitation, something that came up as I was having this conversation with a dear friend of mine, and really just noticing how we were talking about ourselves, how far removed we are from even our bodies and the connection of our bodies to Mother Earth. So perhaps I can also invite you to just notice how it is all tied in to a sense of generosity, noticing how generous Mother Earth is can be a role model almost for all of us. And something that came up for me too was that when I attend these retreats that are free, and when something happened when these retreats started establishing, the founder often shares this, that when this retreat started getting funded, he thought that maybe he'll take donations from people. And then he realized that when people donated money, their expectations were different and there was no sense of gratitude. And then I thought about this, and he made it free for everybody to attend. And I know as I attend, I'm always so grateful. Everything is provided by volunteers in the retreat. And there's many retreats that go on like that. This is just a particular one, but many retreats that go on like that. And I'm so grateful to the people serving and the food is really simple, but I'm still super grateful. So there's something that shifts, at least in me, and maybe you might notice that in yourself as well, that when we're paying for something, right? I go to a restaurant, and if it's free, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to be super grateful about the food. But the moment I'm paying, it's like, just potatoes, right? This is not worth $5 or whatever it is, right? There's a shift. There's a little bit of a change there. And so really noticing how the sense of paying for something changes our sense of gratitude, and even how we might complain about our food, or the way we express ourselves might be, unkind, because we feel like we are paying for something and therefore we should be getting something instead. So noticing the shift and seeing if we could have, even when we're paying for a service, a sense of generosity in there, to notice that there's a service being provided, but there's also ourselves and our connection. It's almost like there's a disconnect in there sometimes, is how I see it for me. It's a little bit of a disconnect when I'm paying for something, and I expect something to go a certain way. I don't know if you experience that, and just maybe much talking about myself here. If you do, you can write it on the chat, and if you don't, then that's fine. But there is a sense of a different expectation when there's money in the way. And so there is a story, one of my most favorite stories is based on a book, a children's book, and I'm going to share, hopefully after this, I'm going to share the video with you. And it's just a really short video that I think you might enjoy watching with me. But this is the book is called The Giving Tree by Shey Silverstein. I've mentioned before, this is one of my most favorite books in the entire world. I've had some controversial takes on it for a while. And so how I see it more is I see this act of generosity, and I can see it so much in our in my own life, in connection with earth, my own body. Really, that's really how I see it. And so the story starts with a boy and his best friend, who just happened to be a tree. And every day the boy climbs a tree, eats the tree's apples, sleeps in its shade. And both the boy and the tree are happy with this arrangement. They had their best friends. But as the boy ages, his needs change. Each time the boy visits, the tree gives him everything she can, including all her branches and her trunk. And she gets all reduced to just a stump. Stump is just nothing really left except for a little bit of tree and roots. And the tree doesn't think that she has anything left to give the boy when he returns once again. But this time the boy is an old man, and it turns out a stump is just what the old man needs to sit down and get a little rest. And he says, as he does, the tree is happy. And so just noticing, as you watch this, how this lands for you. And if we can even, I love to just, even though this is not the core probably of the way the book is written, because it's a children's book, I really do relate it so much to the body and our relationship to the body, and that body that's connected to earth and our relationship to earth. And so I'll see if I can share this briefly. And I think it's about 6 minutes or so. So maybe I'll ask you, would you like me to share? Just write it on the chat. Would you like to watch a little bit of a clip with me, or we can leave it for another time? I'm not seeing anything yet, but meanwhile, what you write, I also wanted to just thank you for this time with me and for practicing with me today. Thank you for your practice and for everything you do, and for co-creating this environment with me, this safe community. And okay, so I'm seeing, perfect. So I'm gonna just stop the recording right here, because I don't think I can share a video on YouTube that's somebody else's. So we'll just watch it, and then I'll send you the link as well, and you can watch it again on your own. So